am a true Belizean. Tell them that we born there. Belize my home, my native land. Tell them that we born there. I want you people to understand. Tell them that we born.
Good night, listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is ARIA Lightfoot, and this is Naval String Connections. Our very esteemed guest tonight is Nigel Miguel. And I think most Belizeans can agree he is Belize's premier celebrity. Even when I was growing up, the first actor that we were aware of in Belize. He's done some wonderful things. And he is very much naval string connected to Belize. So as we start our show tonight, I do want to say I am very pleased that he's here. And Mr. Miguel, Nigel Miguel, could you kindly introduce yourself? And you'll have to start with your naval string connection. What connects you to Belize?
Oh, well, I mean, I was born here. Mother, Leonie Buller, maiden name, and Edward Miguel was my dad. And now what connects me to Belize is my wife, Julie, maiden name Simmons, but Julie Miguel. So I have gone full circle, grown up here, born here, grew up in the U.S., and came back here about 20 years ago because, like you said, my navel string is here, and somebody else told me once you drink the water, you have to come back. So,
so Nigel, could you tell us what age you moved to the U.S.? I think when I read your bio, you moved pretty young.
Yeah, between 5 and 6. The year was 1968. My mother, father, grandmother, and my aunt moved to the U.S. By way of New York to L.A. They took the bus. The first part of that.
From Belize to California?
Well, not to California, to the U.S. I don't know. Once they got in the U.S., then they got a plane as well. But my aunt, Jeanette, my grandmother, on my mother's side, and myself, we took the plane.
Okay.
But they took the part bus and part plane, yeah.
So do you have any memories of Belize as a 5, 6-year-old before you went to the U.S.?
Yeah, I vividly remember being on Albert Street, because that's where my grandmother's house was, standing up on the balcony and just watching people go back and forth up and down Albert Street. The house that my wife currently has, her Water Walkers Boys and Girls nonprofit, is based out of there. So that's very rewarding and fine thing that the house is still standing, one, but then it's doing something productive in the community as well. I remember when I had to leave, having to give my dog away, standing on the back balcony and, crying because my dog had to stay, and, I was going. So that's still, 50 something years have passed, and that's still something that I remember. I remember growing up to where my father family was on Pilot Canal. That house, growing up there, just all the love, and there was a lot of I have a lot of cousins. I'm an only child, but I have a lot of cousins, and we all, grew up there. So those are very fond memories. And yeah, the limited memories I had at Belize as a child. When I came back 20 something years ago, little by little, I got re-educated and reintroduced to Belize life, and you know, I love it.
Do you remember as a 5-year-old going to the US, what it was, what the difference was? Was there a culture shock? Do you
Oh,
remember? Do you have that memory?
huge, huge culture shock. But the one thing I will say, I went to school. The education I got as a young child here in Belize surpassed what when I got to the U.S. I would have been in like preschool or kindergarten here. When I got to the U.S., they put me in first grade because of my testing, and I was younger than the kids that were there. But the basic education I had, even as a 5, 6 year old, surpassed the first and second graders. The issue I had was when you talk about culture shock. Anytime I opened my mouth, I sounded funny. So, and the kids would laugh. So I didn't say much in the beginning, answering questions or just being outgoing. So I do remember that. Um, but going to the U.S. Back then, and like I said, it was the '60s. That was a big deal, So um, I remember my father had gone to New York to study. He got a scholarship to study engineering, and then from there, he and my mother went to Los Angeles so for him to finish his education at UCLA, and then they came back home and got us, and we kind of did the same process again and ended up in LA. But um, I had nothing but fond memories. I was a 5 year old, but fond memories of Belize and growing up on Albert Street and the canal side.
And you played high level basketball. You weren't like just a regular player. You played for UCLA, right? At a very high level,
UCLA,
one of their
yeah.
best players. How did you get into basketball? Is it something that you really liked when you were young? Was it something influenced by your family, or was it just, hey, you got picked on the team because you were taller than the rest of the kids?
The rest of the kids. Well, yes, that's part of it because of my height, and
Yeah.
that was the sport that I adapted to easier or easiest. But I got into basketball just a little bit. My family background come from a long line of athletes, maybe not basketball players per se, but a long line of athletes here in Belize. My father, my uncles were all cyclists.
Okay.
Um, you know, um, Competed at a high level in the cross country over the years. My dad was I think I don't know if that record has been broken, but he was the youngest cross country champ at the age of 16 when he won his
Oh,
first cross
wow.
country.
So your dad was
Yeah.
a cross country winner.
Oh yeah. And my uncles,
Nice.
all won. Yeah. They um, competed. Like I said, not basketball, but they set their mark in sports, um,
Okay.
in cycling, and I just started playing because basketball I could play by myself. All you needed was a rim and a
True.
ball, and that I didn't need anybody else. And as an only child, sometimes, you make up friends and sometimes you have to do it on your own. So basketball was the place where I found my peace. And like I said, when we first moved to the US, it was a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
So the only place that I was really accepted at first was on the basketball court because I had a certain talent. I was always playing with older guys. And then I might have been young, but my height uh, would make me look like I'm 7 or 8, but I'm playing with guys 10, 11, 12.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just gravitated to basketball, like I said, because it allowed me to express myself, and it was something that I could do on my own, uh, just shooting hoops.
And you got drafted also to the NBA. You played there for a period of time, right? What was that
Well,
experience like?
my NBA experience was short lived, but it still the process of getting there was an amazing process, and just uh, a bit of a accomplishment, because it's a journey. Like you saying, here's this little kid, 6-year-old kid from Belize,
Yeah.
that went through all the levels, junior high, high school, college, and then you get drafted on draft day, and you realize the dream. Now, in my situation, I got drafted by a team called the New Jersey Nets, which is
Yeah.
now the Brooklyn Nets. They moved. That was 1985. That year, I didn't make the team. I was like one of the last players cut, and I went to what they call now the G League. But back when I was playing, it was called the CBA, Continental Basketball Association, which is like the B team to the NBA. So
Yeah.
the New Jersey Nets has a CBA affiliate team, which when I didn't make the Nets that year, they sent me to their affiliate team in the CBA, which was a team called the Lacrosse Catbirds, which is in Wisconsin.
Very
So,
cool. Huh?
oh yeah, well, New Jersey was cold, but Wisconsin
Right.
was extremely cold.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing was, it allowed me to keep playing and to keep in the vision, or on the radar with the Nets, because they would send scouts to our games, and they keep an eye on how we were doing and all that. And from time to time, uh, you might could get called up for what they call a 10-day, which they would it's a 10-day contract. They bring you up. Say if somebody gets hurt on the team, and this is how they would fill that spot. They'd bring somebody from their CBA team up to the NBA on a 10-day contract. Now, NBA rules, you're allowed to do 2 10-day contracts. And if they want to keep you beyond that, they have to sign you to a contract for the whole year.
Okay.
Um, I finished out the year in the CBA. We went to the championship and we lost. But because of that, and I did very well uh, that year, 85, 86. I got brought back to camp the next year with the Nets, and
Right.
they signed me to a 2-year deal.
Nice.
Yeah, so but the problem was with that, I knew I would make the team. I had a very good chance. I got hurt during the preseason, and during a game against the Washington Bullets. Well, they're called the Wizards now, but
Right.
when we were competing, there were the Washington Bullets. I guess um, Bullets and Washington. They changed the name because it wasn't politically correct.
Right. I could imagine
Uh,
with all
yeah,
the
well,
crime
as you
rates
see, a
and
lot of
stuff.
sports teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of sports teams are changing it. The Redskins are now the Commanders in the
Yes.
NFL. Um, the
Only
Cleveland
only
Indians are
FSU
now.
only
Oh
FSU
yeah,
got a
well,
name.
FSU fought it. They fought
Right.
it because they tried to get them to change their name, but they said the Seminoles are
Yeah.
Florida, so
Well, they
we're not
also got permission from the Seminole Indians
from the yeah
to use their
from the
name or
natives.
native.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, so um,
I
but
played basketball in high school. So I used
oh
to
yeah,
follow basketball back then. I mean, I can't tell you anything about basketball today, but in that era that you're talking about, my uncle, everybody was so into NBA in Belize. So yeah, I used to watch all these different teams play. Yeah.
well, Belize is you're either a Laker fan or a Celtic fan from
No,
back
I
in
was
that
a
era.
Celtic. I was a Celtic.
Okay,
Hated
Yeah.
the Lakers.
Wow. You sound like my wife. When I first met my wife, she told me that she was a Celtic fan, but because her older sister's boyfriend at the time was a Celtic fan, so that's what that's what they watched. So yeah, but I diehard Laker fan. Grew up watching those guys as well, and knew most of the people on the Lakers from from the '80s to the '90s. Well, that was my period. So those guys were contemporaries and good friends. So, but yeah, Belize. Uh, I came my freshman year at UCLA. I actually came back to Belize to spend I was supposed to be here for 7 days. And it's interesting that I'm doing a show with you guys. Evan X Hyde at the time really embraced me and reintroduced me to Belize, and kind of piqued my interest and desire to know more about the country where I was from, along with a gentleman by the name of Pullo Lightburn. They
Yes.
kind
I
of,
know Polo.
yes, kind of
Yeah,
walk me through and let Belizeans know, who I was. And at that time, like I said, I had been back to Belize before, but this was my first trip coming back as an adult. Or
right,
I was 19, 18, 19, but as opposed to being a little kid,
right.
I actually so that was an impactful time um, of my life. And like I said, I was only supposed to be here a week. I ended up staying like over a month, and the
Oh,
team team the team called me, called my parents, and was like, "Hey, where's Nigel? He's supposed to be doing summer practicing, playing
yeah.
in the summer league, just all kind of stuff." So I had to tear myself away from Belize and got back there. But
But look at it, you're still coming, you're still there. I
yeah,
mean,
well, that was the genesis of it.
yeah,
You know, like I said, it was an impactful reintroduction to my country. Let's just say that.
awesome. And so, how did you transition into Hollywood? Because you went from basketball and the first movie I remember you in was Colors, right?
Yeah.
And because people made such a big deal, they're like, there's a Belizean in the movie. So how did you
How did
transition
that
to
happen?
Hollywood?
Well, I would say the school I went to, UCLA, we used to have all kind of actors and producers and just industry people come watch us play.
Okay.
So my senior year at UCLA, I met a gentleman by the name of Lee Majors, who Lee Majors, well, most people know him from the $6 Million Man. He was married to Farrah Fawcett, um, who was in Charlie's Angels, and
Yeah.
all those people used to come to our games at UCLA. And I got introduced to Lee Majors through I did an event with a young lady that was she had diabetes, but she
Oh,
was an actor. And childhood diabetes, that one of the side effects or whatever, it makes you look younger than what you were. So here's
really?
this here's this woman. Well, she was very small. She didn't grow,
Okay.
just a few things, but um, she used to play. She was in her early 20s, but she would play 11, 12, 13 year
Oh,
old kids.
okay.
And she was this huge basketball fan, right? So she was doing a commercial, and I taught her how to spin the ball on her finger
Uh,
for the commercial. There was a guy that used to help us out in AAU basketball by the name of Sonny Vaccaro, a Nike. He used to work for Nike. Um, he put put us together, and she at the time was working on a TV show called The Fall Guy, which was another Lee Majors show. Um, um, when that happened, I did an exchange. I said, I want to find out more. I kind of liked hanging out and all that. I want to find out more about this industry. So what they did, I gave them tickets to my games,
Uh,
and they gave me access to the studio, which was 20th Century Fox, which
right.
was right in the about 5-10 minutes away from the UCLA campus. So I used to go on the lot and just kind of hang out as their guests on their show. So long story short, like I told you, I got hurt during the preseason, and um, they paid off my contract for the year, but I had to rehab um, for my injury. About
Right.
halfway through the season, or less than half, they asked me if I wanted to finish my rehab in California, back home. And it was depressing. First of all, yeah, I'm on the team, but I'm injured.
Yeah.
I, I'm New Jersey was cold. It just I got homesick basically. So they sent me home to finish my rehab, and the place that I was rehabbing at was a Joe Curlin facility, which is NBA authorized, but it's where the Lakers actually train.
Okay.
The guy, I met a gentleman in there, an attorney, and he knew who I was, and we started talking. And he's like, "Hey, man, you want to do commercials?" I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?" He said, "Well, there's an audition for a Burger King commercial, and they want basketball players." So he sent me out on that audition. I got it. From that commercial, I got an agent. And before even doing colors and all that, I was doing a bunch of commercials, which was actually a pretty lucrative. I'm a year or two out of college. I ain't making a
I
lot of
could
money.
imagine, right?
So the fact, you get to do a commercial, and, you're on TV and all that. Like I said, I'm 21, 22 years old. Life is good. So,
Yeah, I could imagine.
and from that, Jason, the attorney's name was Jason Madison. Jason used to represent all these actors, not in their field, but say like if one of them got in a car accident or
Right.
this or that, he was their
Go to attorney.
he was their go-to attorney. One of the persons that he used to do work for was Dennis Hopper. Dennis
Okay.
Hopper was the director of colors.
Yeah.
I'd go hang out with them, and just became friends because Dennis Hopper is a huge basketball fan too, and he offered me a role in colors, and the rest was,
And you got the opening role, right?
yeah, yeah. But I'd say all this to kind of like people always ask, how did you get into it? It wasn't
Yeah.
anything I had planned. Obviously, it was a blessing because the opportunity was given to me, but it wasn't anything that I planned. Let's just say that, yeah.
So
You know.
Colors was your first real acting role, though. I mean, it was the beginning scene. You got killed in the scene. I remember that.
No, no,
Um,
I didn't get killed. I played a gang leader. They shot somebody.
oh, I
I
thought
was
you.
just there. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
no, no,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that was a huge movie. I didn't know anything about the movies per se at that time, but I just know that all the actors and the people associated with the movie were like, big time people.
Yeah.
So here it is on my first time on set. One of my first scenes was with an actor by the name of Robert Duvall, who, is just major.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm sharing the screen with him. Then you have Sean Penn at that time, who was like the original Bad Boy. Then he was dating Madonna. So
And it's crazy because I used to like Sean Penn
yeah, he
until after he dated Madonna, then I didn't like him anymore. So
he well, you know that whole thing. I got a chance to listen to be at the table at the dinner table sometimes with them, and this was like the beginning of what we know now as paparazzi,
yeah,
and it's common now, but back then it was just starting
right.
to happen. And I used to hear him talk about how his life isn't his anymore, and it was very frustrating. And
But
I
imagine.
I, I think a
No
little bit of it,
privacy.
yeah, with him and Madonna and
I was such a big Madonna fan. So it's like
yeah,
as
yeah.
a young
Actually,
person the first time.
Madonna was bigger than Sean Penn,
Yeah, yeah,
So I think a little bit of that with some insecurities and just all,
yeah,
but it was you know, being close to it, but not actually being a part of it, just
yeah,
watching the dynamics of that relationship and just everything with now people want paparazzi around. Back
yeah.
then,
That's true.
nobody really wanted it. That the big time agencies now call them and let them know, hey, my actor or my client is going to be at such and such
Yeah,
place.
send your paparazzi.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Back then was the only the Inquirer though. We didn't have internet or anything.
exactly, yeah, it
It
wasn't
was
no
the
internet.
Inquirer just
Yeah.
making up half the stories.
Yep.
So I guess
Yep.
you didn't have the opportunity back then to argue back whatever story they wrote about you probably became
Yeah,
fact,
it
you know.
became truth. It became
And
truth.
you know what I found
Or
intriguing?
perception.
That you were the body double for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, for about 7 years.
That's that's crazy. Could you
That
explain
was
that?
the thing was I've known Michael from we were in high school.
Okay.
We played in a game called the McDonald's All American game, which is for like the top high school players in the
Okay.
country. And I met him. It was 1981. Well, we graduated high school in 1981, but um, I met him that summer. Um, and then at the end of the school year, when we played in the McDonald games, kind of just hit it off. Somewhat similar backgrounds, two-parent household, somewhat middle class upbringing, and it was weird. A lot of the stuff that his dad would say to him when we were at these games, at the stuff, I hear my father saying, because my father was big on discipline, big on like, you know, you
Doing the
get
right thing, the rules,
yeah, yeah, man, to a fault. Um,
his upbringing, that British,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He like
very
I just used to
scheduled,
remember my pop was saying, "Hey, look, if you're gonna be someplace or whoever you have with you, you better be a leader because if you're a follower and you get in trouble and all that, I don't want to hear any excuses." You
right?
know. So I heard that, and so Mike and I we hit it off, and then obviously as we continued to play and he became this superstar um when we when he started doing stuff with Nike and I was doing stuff with them as well, but for more of a like just getting a commercial, not being like
Yeah,
the star in the commercial. um the people at Nike and the ad agency called Wyden and Kennedy, they never knew the relationship. So one day we're on a set together and nobody, I don't say he's in a bad mood, but nobody wants to approach him and all that. And he sees me coming over to him and he hollers out my name. And from that point, like I used to get special treatment anytime, anything coming up with him,
and you
they would
need to
want,
talk to him.
yeah, they would want me on the set, right? So he had a personal assistant um, that all of a sudden just decided, hey, Nigel, seemed like you and Mike. He likes having you around because what they would do, he would need a double for whatever he does because his time is so valuable.
Uh,
Um, they even when he shoots a commercial, he would only be able to do it like 4 or 5 hours a day or whatever for that. When you're shooting a commercial or a movie or stuff like that,
uh,
there's some long days, but he wouldn't be able to commit, say, like 12, 16 hours to doing it. So that's when the
right.
body double stuff came in. So a lot of stuff that you see with him
That's
where it's not his
amazing.
face, a
That's
lot of
you.
it, a lot of it is me, yeah. And the woman's name was Esty, and Esty pulled me aside and she made it official. So, like I said, for about 7 years, I was his double wherever he had a commercial or something, an event or whatever, they would bring me there. So I went all over the world,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
different. Oh man, it's amazing. I saw some
Another
things.
person I absolutely loved as a young person was Michael Jordan because I played basketball and
Uh,
I love how he played. I always thought he played heart and soul.
oh,
When
amazing,
Yeah. But how did
amazing.
it like as a body double? Like what were some of the things you did as a body double for him?
Okay, I mean, you'd be surprised, but like I've actually, and this wasn't even part of a commercial per se, but they needed. I was in a limousine one time, and because they needed a diversion,
Ah,
so I'm in the limousine dressed like him. Get into the car from a distance, the barricades is here. Get into a car and drive off. People thought he was gone, and then he exited another way.
oh,
That's like
nice.
something day to day. But if we talk about like stuff that was on screen, um, I wish I would have been able to send you some of the clips, the
Right,
commercials, but because I'll say them, but they might not mean anything um, to you guys. Well, obviously Space Jam,
right.
um, with the animation and
So
um,
that was mostly you.
a lot of it, yeah, when you're
Oh,
not seeing
wow.
face and all that, yeah,
That's
because
amazing.
that was painstaking and very long days,
Yeah.
and uh, Michael might work 8 hours a day, but to complete the filming in the time that we had with him, there might be another 8 hours that they would need him. But
To do the shots, to do the
yeah. So
basketball
so so so
scene.
so it was me. Um, a lot of the
That's crazy.
like there's and you can go on YouTube and see some of this stuff. CEO Jordan.
Okay.
Um, that was a huge commercial where we shot in the city of Chicago.
That's
Um,
where I am right now.
oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
Chicago.
the mercantile, um, well, the stock exchange in Chicago.
Okay.
New York has the
Yeah.
NYC. Chicago has their own stock exchange. We actually use that building
Okay.
as his office. So we would shoot before they'd open. I think it was like 5 in the morning. We would shoot up to like 4 o'clock in that
Oh, wow.
building, um, through the night leading up to like 4 o'clock.
Nice.
Finish up. They would open up, and then they would close off a section of us so that we could continue to use that. We did that for a week. Now, the magnitude of getting that because you're closing down a
Yeah.
section of the stock exchange.
And
Only
in winter,
somebody
right?
only somebody like Michael Jordan could do
No
that.
kidding. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the bridge systems, the where the boats cross through and then the bridges open up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There there's a scene in that commercial where he's running and as the bridge is opening up, he jumps over it.
Okay, so now I have to go look at it because I
Yeah,
cross the
if
bridge
if if,
every
if you go
day.
look at it, you see all the
Okay.
time you see the person running around and
And
it's
that's
in,
you. That's not Jordan. That's you.
no, that's not him. Yeah, that's me.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, so we had for about a week, we had access to, like I said, some incredible places that the average person wouldn't get a chance to
Right.
see. Um, just because of one, the industry, but then two, uh, Michael Jordan and Nike. And then the fact that we're in Chicago where he is a god.
Yeah, second.
Um, yeah, especially doing that. So it was just a blessing and like I said, an incredible period in my life that yeah, for like 7 years we did that. I filmed in France with him, based off of that, all parts of the U.S.
Nice.
And I've been in Chicago Stadium, um, and to me as a ball player that's big. But in any
Yeah,
sports fan to be in a arena and you're just walking around and having full access to it,
yeah.
that's huge, So, um, and the people that I've met over the years based off of that, it's just an incredible life, and I'm very grateful and thankful that that blessing was bestowed on me. Yeah.
So, you know what is amazing, I think, is that you are a humble guy. Because you've achieved, you've been in all these different circles, you kind of accidentally got into film, and based on your your community, the people who really love basketball. How do you feel like coming from Belize? Like, how do you articulate it as a 5-year-old coming from Belize, relatively third world country, not third world, but developing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, to go into an environment where, like Michael Jordan, I was listening to an interview one time with um, the guy from CNN. What was his name? King? Was it King? The
From CNN.
Yeah, he was. I can't remember his name right now, but I always remember him saying, he said if for the first time he had his son come to him and said, I want to be like Mike. Because remember, be like Mike used to be such as Larry King, Larry King.
Larry King, yeah.
Yeah, he said his son came to him, I want to be like Mike. And he said that was how he knew that things were kind of changing in America when a little
Hmm.
white kid is coming to you trying to be like Michael
Yeah,
Jordan,
like Mike.
right?
Well,
So
it's interesting you say Larry King. I've met Larry King a couple times. I can't say I know him, but I've been introduced and we've met. Um, like you said, my father always used to tell me that when you are in a situation or you are a part of something, you have to take it on yourself to let people know, or just their introduction to beliefs might only be their meeting you.
that's true.
So how do you want that to, or how do you want that person to feel about you or your country or whatever? And he told me that at a young age, and I took that to heart. That and back then I always used to say, well, these folks might not ever get a chance to go to Belize, but they've met a Belizean, and I want that to be a positive experience. And the one thing I'll say is that we all come from humble beginnings.
That's true.
Most of the guys that you see on that level, and we'll talk about sports, as opposed to entertainment, they all come from humble beginnings. So that's the one thing that really binds us together. Now, as you elevate yourself within the sport, yeah, it's sort of like the pyramid. As you get to the top, it gets smaller and smaller.
Right.
But even the top person, and at that time it was MJ or Magic or whatever, all of them start from nothing, man.
Yeah,
So I try to tell these kids now, or as I've gone through this process called life, I tell them, man, one, you don't have to be ashamed or embarrassed about where you come from. Uh, the most consistent person that I know, and it goes back to MJ, because I always tell people the biggest compliment I can give him is that he is a consistent individual the most consistent individual that doesn't have to be, because I will be the first to tell you sometimes you come around what I call top of the food chain type of guys.
Yep.
Um, if you get them on a bad day, so be it.
Yeah.
They don't have to be cordial, or they don't have to, and I'm not saying going out of their way, but regardless of who you are or where you land on that totem pole, because there's a pecking order, we're
Yep.
all human beings. We're all human beings. So I have to be able to look at you, regardless of your financial status or situation or whatever, or if you're, like I said, top of the food chain, you're a person. And that's just how I approach life now. I'm not going to allow you to be rude to me, regardless of who you are,
Right.
the beggar on the street or the CEO. But there's a mutual respect as a human being that I afford everybody. So um, I guess that again comes from my dad, because I even when I was this guy in playing ball and getting all these accolades or whatever, I still had to do this. I still had to do that. At the end of the day, he was still the boss.
Right.
But
Definitely.
it makes life more enjoyable, and it makes dealing with the hard times a little easier, as opposed to, because everybody has their peaks and valleys. You got to be able to exist and enjoy all times.
Well, the reason I love sports so much, I feel like sports is the ultimate competition where you don't get a leg up. It's literally based on what you put in,
Yeah,
except, of course, if you get injured or something like that. But it's basic competition, it's basic who shows up. And that's why I actually like Jordan and I did like LeBron, because I watched a video with him also where he shows up. They said he shows up to practice an hour or two before practice
before. Yeah.
begins so that he can get his level of workout in to create that level of excellence, right? And that's why I love
Oh,
sports. I
mm.
think it's boiled down to excellence. There's nobody that can put you in there as a favorite
No, no,
because
no.
it's so competitive that, you
Proof
know,
is gonna come out.
yes, yes,
If you can't cut it, you gonna get left behind for sure,
yeah.
for sure.
And
And
from Belizean, like I just want to make this point that I don't think people sometimes appreciate. Somebody did the pyramid one time. They start with, for example, 1 million kids start playing basketball. And by the time it reaches high school, it has dwindled down to maybe 100,000 or whatever. And by the time it reaches college, now you're dealing with thousands. You know what I mean? And then by the
oh yeah,
time it reaches NBA. So it is like,
350 something jobs in the NBA. That's it.
yes, yes. And imagine you make it into that elite. Like, even if you sit on a bench, you are one of the elite athletes to even make it that far. And I
It's a
think that's
true
a big
blessing.
deal, Nigel. I think, and that's where I see your humility because it was reading your bio. I wasn't even aware of some of the things that you've done, right? And let's talk a little bit about film because you have gone beyond acting,
Yeah,
right? But tell us a little bit about some of the movies that you've been in because you have been in a few movies.
yeah. I've done a few. I mean, some of the more notable ones that everybody kind of knows about, even if they don't know that I was in them. The big one is Space Jam and White Men Can't Jump.
Right, right.
Um, White Men Can't Jump was kind of like, it was sports. It dealt with, it was kind of the cool thing to do.
Stereotypes, but in
Yeah,
a fun
you
way.
know,
Yeah,
um, everybody for years, um, people would walk up to me, and not just in the U.S., in other parts of the world, and quote lines that I said in that movie. My character in White Man Can't Jump was the white to flight McGee. And I again remember being in France and these kids chasing me, hollering, "Flight, the white to flight." you know, and that was the magnitude of that film, but then it's also the magnitude of the of movies. You
Yeah.
know, how you can be in another part of the world, and somebody has seen you in something, and they notice you. Which, you know, it's nice. I mean, I I'm a private person, but I also like to interact. But I'm
Right.
not a person that seeks that stuff. But when it happens, I appreciate it, and you know, it's nice. My wife used to always say, "How do these people know you?" You know,
Yeah.
we we'd be in the airport, and somebody would come up to me, and she was like, "Who is that?" You know, and but yeah, but it is like you see the effect of a project that it had on someone. Like I was doing a podcast uh, earlier this year, and uh, I did a movie called Heaven is a Playground, which we shot in Chicago as well. But
Okay.
it was actually based off of a book that was written about a sports writer called who goes by the name of Rick Tellender, that this summer he spent in New York. And he made a book, a bestseller, and we made a movie about it, but we changed the location from New
New
York to
York.
Chicago. And the reason why we changed it, well, it was two reasons. One, this was actually supposed to be Michael Jordan's first movie that he did.
Okay.
And this was before he became Jordan. He was MJ.
Right.
This was in the '80s, but he hadn't won any championships yet. The NBA was controlled at
Young
that
Michael
time.
Jordan.
Young Michael Jordan, yeah, Magic and Bird was controlling everything. So Jordan was a great player, but he didn't reach that status of those guys. So Hollywood really wasn't like, you know, chasing down a Michael Jordan movie project. So
So
we
Harlan
actually,
is actually going to show one of your commercials while we're talking.
pardon me.
Harlan, the
Oh,
engineer in
okay,
the
okay,
background,
okay.
he
Yes,
is
yes.
going to post up your bag of groceries,
Oh,
2000.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the Coke spot. This is directed by the Hughes brothers. I don't know, Alan and Albert Hughes,
I've heard the
critically
name.
acclaimed. Yeah,
Yeah.
critically acclaimed film and TV directors, and most of the uh, like big time commercial film directors, they all want to direct commercials and stuff because one, it's introducing a whole new audience, but then two, it's very good money for a short period of time.
Right. Right.
Um,
And for a
films,
for a little small spot, right? 30
yeah,
seconds on average.
30 seconds. Like, well, like this, what they do, they have what they call lifts. So a 30-second spot is a lift from a 60-second spot. But
Mhm.
because of advertising time, it's cheaper to run 30 second spots than to run a minute spot because that's not your traditional commercial, but you can get it, but you have to pay more ad time to get it. So when they
Interesting.
actually shoot that commercial, it was actually a lot longer, but what they actually put out there was the 30-second lift, and that's what you saw.
Right.
Everybody basically sees, but those like for a film, you make a director make a couple $100,000 for a 2 hour film. That's a lot of work. He can make that same money for a 30-second commercial.
Nice. So it
You
sounds
know,
like
so
commercial is where we should go.
that's exactly that's where. But uh, and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But um, the industry itself, we're talking about the impact that those things have. Um, with heaven is a playground, and like I said, I would be in different parts of the world, and people would recognize me from White Men Can't Jump and say different things, and uh, you know, I started to see the impact or the influence that you can have on folks.
Yeah,
And I've always wanted to, like, I know how exciting that was for me to get a role, and I always wanted like young Belizeans, because we have some talented people here. It's just opportunity,
I
you know.
agree
And
completely.
I I always I'd ask, this was my prayer, that I would be able to be put in a place where I could help give opportunity to young Belizeans that I had. I had to leave the country to get them, but now I don't believe that we should have to have them leave
I agree.
to get it.
Because we leave and then we take a while to come back. I think everybody wants to go back to Belize. Everybody, that's ultimately a lot of our dream. But you're right. I think that we can develop talent in Belize. We just have to kind of find something for them to do with that talent, right? And I guess when it comes to the arts, I find Belizeans to be extremely creative. You see it right now on social media.
We do
Uh,
the most with nothing,
yes, that's
you
a great
know.
way to put it.
I try to tell my guys. I say, look, that's a good place to start, but okay, this is heaven is a playground. DB Sweeney and Silk Cozart. Well, that's Mike Warren. I don't know that name, Mike Warren. Um, Hill Street Blues. He's a UCLA guy, but this scene was the first time that we actually saw him without his, because he used to have a toupee and
Yeah.
everything. This was the first time we saw him like that. This is Cabrini Greens in Chicago. This was one of the last. They actually tore those projects down
Oh.
a couple years afterwards from us shooting there. So there was some significant attributes to this film when it comes to the city of Chicago.
So
You know.
I just moved here in June, July. So I'm just learning some of these places in Chicago. You know,
Okay.
beautiful city. I
Oh yeah,
actually
yeah.
like it. I like the culture of Chicago, the food. It's awesome. So far. You also did some very powerful movies. I think American History X, right?
Yep.
I remember that that was a very powerful film that I remember. How do you feel about that movie?
Well, it's interesting how I got involved with that, because I was more behind the scenes with that. I was in one scene, actual scene, but I got involved with that because Ed Norton's manager knew my manager,
Oh, wow.
and I had actually worked with Elliot Gould, who was the other lead actor, a few years back. We did something at UCLA, and he remembered me, and so there was a lot of basketball in that. So what I did in that, I was the technical advisor and casting director for that project. And when they
Oh,
brought me that project and I was reading it, I was like, wow.
yeah. And
Um,
I think that movie would be relevant today. Like to
oh,
me,
even more
with-
so.
yes, with all the things that are going on, that movie
Yes.
really moved me. It really moved me because talk about influence and impact, the way how Ed Norton in that play influenced his brother, right? And then
Yeah.
he changed, but by the time he changed, it wasn't enough for his
It
own
was too
brother.
late.
So
Yep. Yep.
that was a
But
very powerful movie.
at the time it was powerful. So, and now, like you said, I believe that it's even more, it
I
would
think
have even
so.
more impact, because we're living that even more so today, because of, you know, I don't want to
Politics,
get too political, but
yeah, the environment
yeah.
that we're in. You have a lot of young men that are, I feel like with social media sometimes, with these algorithms that's tuning you in into one narrative, we're seeing what that movie portray. We're seeing now young white guys are becoming that level of angry and violent. So I
Hmm.
think that back then the movie was portrayed where there was no heroism in it. It was really well done, well articulated, I mean I still remember seeing that film. It really left an impact on me after
Oh yeah.
um
Like I said, I could remember reading that script, and just feeling it. You can tell when you're reading good writing.
yeah,
It jumps out at you even before you actually visualize, you actually see it. It's playing out in your head.
yeah.
And uh, I mean, you said it exactly. That's more prevalent now as opposed to back then, because now it's in your face. There's no
Yes,
denying it.
yes.
No.
It's no longer like a gang that's treating like deplorables. They're treating it almost like it's normal. And
Yes.
that's my
Yes.
issue with it, right?
Exactly.
And I was very pleasantly surprised when I read your bio that you were involved with that film because I didn't know that until I read your bio. You have been in some very good films. I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
it's well done films that you've been in.
I've had like I said, a very blessed life. I'm trying to the point now where I am trying to produce these type of movies coming out of Belize. That, I ask God just to give me the strength and the opportunity to do some of that stuff down there from a producing standpoint, not being a part of someone else's project, but
Right.
actually having my own project germinate and, you know, grow and blossom out of Belize. Because again, I'm somewhat biased, but I truly believe that we have a lot to offer.
So, like,
Um,
you made a good point that Belize is becoming more visible. Like, what do you think is special about Belize for a filmmaker like yourself? Like, what stories do you think need to be told? Because one of my observations in Belize, even with news, sometimes with our Southside kids who are predominantly black kids, we don't hear their stories. A lot of times when the media is reporting, it's sometimes negative. We see the end results of what's going on with some of our kids, but there's no story that goes along with how did they get here? How do we change it? That's why I love the fact that your wife is volunteering to kind of impact these lives. What
well,
stories do you think need to be told about Belize?
again, I see it daily, through her, and a lot of things I see through her eyes. Um, like I see like our young men, they know that they're losing, but they don't know why.
Yeah,
I try to tell them that they how can I put it? It's like frustration, like that energy. I try to tell them it's not that they're bad kids, but if you have energy and it has nowhere to go,
yeah,
it's going to get out. So
negatively.
negatively, yeah, it's going to get out. So we have to be able to channel that and put it in a productive sector. Now, that's where we come along, the adults or the system that's created here in the country. We have to be able to give them those avenues to channel that energy so that it is in a positive way. Stories that I would like to see or that to get out, because if you look at what's going on in Hollywood, there is a shift. There's a dynamic shift. The people are interested in hearing different stories. They don't want to hear the same thing.
Right.
The world, you look at some of these African movies, which started out
Oh,
to
I love
be,
them on
yeah,
Netflix.
they started
Yeah,
out. I don't know how long you've been watching them, but in the beginning,
I
they
watch them
weren't
all the time.
they weren't that good, but they were
Yeah,
interesting. Now
yes,
they've gotten better.
yes.
So
Especially South Africa, I think.
South Africa, what
I
is
think
it?
South Africa is
Nigeria,
actually up.
Kenya,
Yeah,
all of those are like excellent. So we can do the same thing because, like we made the comment, Belizeans do a lot with nothing, man. So we put our stories together. We have our folklore. We have Like I even like the fact that I think I'm hearing that no matter what is coming back.
Okay, good.
Um, yeah, that was an excellent start. Denver,
Fair
Fairweather
weather. He went to
did
school with me.
okay.
Yeah.
That was an amazing start. I'm glad he's figured out a way to bring it back and all because
Right.
those are the stories that you can tell on a global platform. People would be interested in it. Needs to be fine-tuned just a little bit, but the core of that is there, and it's great. I love that. There are other stories that can come out of it. I mean, at my wife's center, I see these kids. Like she has some drummers, and these kids, when she first met them, they were beating on pigtail buckets, you know, but you saw the artistry, you saw the creativeness, you saw
Yeah.
the passion. More than anything, you saw the passion because them suckers, they was beating all day long, you know. So she put like a little drum team together, and she has a band that competes in the Christmas Day parade.
Okay.
So those are the type. Now there are umpteen stories in there, a lot of stories in there. These little kids, they all come from challenged upbringing, but there's love in the household. A lot of times it's just the mom,
Yeah.
which you know, as a black man, as a Belizean, that kind of irks me a little bit. That you know, for whatever reason, our men don't step up or can't step up to the plate like I believe they should be. But in that same breath, there are a lot of men that are doing it as well. So those are the type of stories that I'd like to tell, and then also lift up, you know, because sometimes just a little pat on the back will help that person get to the next level, and who knows at that point
Right.
what can happen. Uh, I like to tell stories of hope, you know, because we all need that. I watch, um, like there's a guy that sells pastries, and for as long as I've been coming to Belize, this dude that's been his grind, that's been his hustle.
Skinny guy riding a bike, like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
man, that's real, you know.
yeah.
That the fact that that commitment is there, that this, you know, those are things that we should celebrate. Now,
Yaya Marin, I don't know if you've seen some of her. She hasn't been doing it lately, but at
no,
one
but over the years, yeah,
she was doing
she has touched.
stories about young black fathers or to show them in positive light. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed her film, but she hasn't been, I haven't seen her do it in a while, but you know.
I have a granddaughter. Her name is Anna, and she wants to be a newscaster.
Okay.
So she started this thing called Kids News, just a
Nice.
little concept that we've worked on and stuff. And I kind of got sidetracked, but those are things because that's the only way. If the news comes from the adult down, they're gonna do the negative because the negative is
Yeah.
what sells,
So
and you can sell ad time and people know. But if we do it from the kids up, you
I like
know,
that.
yeah, that's a way of putting a positive spin and showing, um, you know, the good side because I sometimes, man, you look at the news and you would think that, damn, don't nothing good happen in Belize,
Yeah, and that's my problem. They lead with it and they end with it, and
you
that's
know, and
problematic.
and and I know that it's not just Belize, but Belize is what's near and dear to me, and that's home. So that I choosing that as an example, but it's all over the world. They you know sensationalize what's bad or what's going bad, but I say that this place has so much good
It
that we
has
could
good
be showing.
people. The
Yeah,
Belizeans,
the people, amazing people,
yeah.
and um again, I kind of circle back to I see it firsthand at my wife's center that like she has a women's group and that meets on Wednesdays, right? And just the impact of those women getting together, and it's not nothing special or big, but they
Yeah.
look forward to that Wednesday meeting every week, and they bond, and s- the stuff that happens within there is magical,
Yeah.
you know. So the stories like that, and then again showing off our culture, our music, you know. The world is ready, man. Now more people are coming to Belize because
Yeah.
of this, the tourism and the beauty of the country or whatever. But we should also be able to export creatively what we have as well, you know.
And you bring a lot of people to Belize, and like you said, you are many people's first introduction to Belize, right? Um, what do you think as a filmmaker some of the misconceptions are? Because I've seen film with Belize like Mad Dog. I don't know if you've seen Mad Dogs.
No,
It was
I
filmed in
had.
Belize, but it was all about Belize. What
Well,
are some
I
of the
would tell you why.
misconceptions?
I was the one that actually brought Mad Dogs to Belize, but
Oh, interesting.
we lost out on that because, well, the writer and producer of Mad Dogs is a friend of mine,
Okay.
and the perception of the script was, it wasn't even Belize. It was a fictional name. It was in Puerto Rico.
They film, but they talk to a little about Belize. The
No,
whole,
but that's what I'm saying. That was after
yeah.
we did some rewrites, and we did this
Okay.
and that and all that. So what we were supposed to do, because the first year was already committed to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So that's why we flipped it and we did some second unit here in Belize. It wasn't enough to like balance out all of the other Puerto Rico, whatever.
Right.
But that was supposed to come in year two. Year two, Mad Dogs was supposed to be 100% shot in Belize.
Let me tell you, I should have known a Belizean was involved because I'm like, the way how my dogs was written, I was like, has to be a Belizean that
Oh,
was part of this consulting process. Don't
yes,
put
I
beer. Don't put a beer.
we fought for some, and in shooting it, I just couldn't get them to change 90% because it was 90% shot in Puerto
Puerto
Rico
Rico.
and then 10% done here.
But the
But
90% that they chose still look like Belize. Like, unless you're not from, it looked a
if,
lot
yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
Belize.
If you're not from Belize, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But Belizeans, that's my market. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to look at it, and I get a kick out of people saying, "Oh, that's such and such." Like anyway, if it's someplace that you know and you see it on screen or whatever, there's a joy
Yeah. I
that
agree.
resonates in you, and that's what I was going or wanted to go after. So year one was already committed to
Okay.
Puerto Rico. Year two was supposed to be shot. It was going to be flipped. 90% was going to be shot
Are
here.
they
As
still going to do it?
no, but see that's the thing. That show was so popular
It
because
was.
it was just a little show that nobody thought anything about at first.
Yeah.
And when after the first year, um, the returns on the show were so popular, the network tried to take over from the producer. This
Yeah.
guy is a big time producer, and he was like, "No, I want to shoot it how I want to shoot it. I don't need your input because you guys weren't that in, excited
But it
about
was
it in the
popular, so obviously it
yeah,
didn't
but
die.
they got excited about it after it got popular.
Right, of
So
course.
they were trying to tell him, well, you need to do this, this, and that, and he didn't want to.
Yeah.
So he was like, if I'm not going to be able to do it the way that we started out wanting to do it, I'm not going to do it. Now, for him, he had three or four other projects going. So if they weren't going to shoot Mad Dogs, I he ended up. I don't know if you remember, they did a remake of SWAT, the TV show,
Oh,
um, and that yeah, it was on ABC, and
okay.
that was his show as well. So the guy, the only people that lost out from not having a season 2, 3, 4 of Mad Dogs was Belize.
And it was such a good movie, but it was like the
Yeah,
accuracy was crazy. I'm like, every time I watch it, I recommend it. I'm like, whoever this guy is, he either lived in Belize or
no,
somebody.
we went through, we rewrote because at that time when you're streaming, and it was a Prime show.
It's
Uh,
still on Prime, by the way.
yeah, it's still on Prime. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and they I think it was 9 episodes. Yeah, 9 episodes. So we rewrote all the scripts, throwing in
Wow.
little Belize, tidbits and stuff to make it as authentic as possible.
Dunked to the Mennonites. I mean, dunked to the,
Yeah, yep,
you guys
yep,
went into all these different cultures. It was well done. Well done then. I didn't
yeah.
even know you were involved in that.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. That was again behind the scenes, and my involvement officially would have been more. I would have been a producer on year 2.
Oh,
So
we need to get that made then. We need to figure
I
that
was
out.
I wish, because the thing with all the actors was looking forward to shooting in Belize too,
I
because like I
bet.
said, we brought they did honestly about 10% of that was shot here, and the rest obviously was
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, but they came down here, and I think we shot a bunch of second unit stuff, some stuff with the actors over about a 10 to 14 day period.
Some sound
And
from Belize sign. Some listen,
yeah,
some
so
major producers in Belize got some free ad space in that
yes,
movie.
yes, yes, yes.
Big time.
We man, not you done brought back some memories, because that would have taken us to a whole different level if we could have secured that show here. And the weird thing about that, after season 1, Puerto Rico had that huge hurricane.
Oh,
So even if things would have worked out
worked out.
without the network getting involved, even if they wanted to go back to Puerto Rico, they wouldn't have been able to. They would
So
have
we need
had
to
to.
get him to Belize. We need to have that discussion. But it leads me to my next question, which is if Hollywood would give you a blank check, right, today, and say, Nigel, you could produce anything right now that you want, what would be your dream production?
To be shot here in country,
Wherever you want. You
wherever. Well, okay, so
it's a blank check. There's no budget. You go ahead and
let me start this out then. It would be Belizean based,
okay,
and it would be something that encompasses the Caribbean.
okay,
So it wouldn't just be shot here, because what I have always envisioned is, and I guess for lack of a better term, a project that encompasses all of CARICOM.
okay.
Belize would be the hub though, but I would love for like a Belizean character to be able to interact, um, and maybe I'm not saying this right, but like some type of pen pal communication with a kid in Barbados, or the storyline would touch on a few different countries within the Caribbean.
So what do you think
And
about the free movement then? Would fit right within
that yeah,
yeah.
that brings it, because I'm looking at the free movement uh, opportunity, and that's perfect, because then you could create something that's authentic with that storyline. um I'm not a writer though, so that's my
We have
only.
writers, you're a producer, we have
Yeah,
writers.
yeah, but that's what I would love to see, because the dynamic of just opening up the world to these young folks, man. Again, with our center, when you complete the process, my wife helps the kids get their passports, and even if it's just a trip to Curacao or I'm sorry, Chetumal
Yeah,
to start it out so that they could get their stamp in because travel is such an incredible part of your education. So I love the dynamics of you have a character here in Belize, but they're interacting with someone else in a different country. Now, what storyline that is, it could be horror, it could be action, it could be a love story, whatever. But um, I just love that opening up the country and the possibilities of our young folks or a character, um, you know, being in a different country and then just because as a child, those are things I dreamed of, you know. And I just think it's cool. I remember being in Hong Kong and going over to mainland China once, and I was crossing the bay, that bridge,
yeah.
and I remember seeing that bridge in James Bond movies as a younger person, and always wanting to be on that. So when I actually had a chance to do that, it's like a full circle moment for me.
Right.
Those are the type of things that I kind of like strive for in my own life. Those full circle moments, like leaving Belize, making my mark, and coming back to Belize to help somebody else make their mark.
And I don't know if I told the audience, but you also was Belize's Goodwill Ambassador, and you're in charge of the Belize film industry. Is
Film
that what?
commission. I did that for about 13 years. And back in 19, I can't remember the exact year, but the first time UDP was
Ninety
in
90,
government.
was it 84? 84.
No, it wasn't 84 then, so it
Was
was
it
the second time.
90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
At that time, former Prime Minister Dean Barrow. Well, he wasn't Prime Minister then. Manuel Esquivel was. So I guess he was the Deputy Prime Minister.
Yeah, possibly.
He appointed me as a Goodwill Ambassador to help promote Belize in the areas of sports and entertainment. And they actually came out to LA and did a little ceremony, and then I came back to Belize
Right.
and did it. And again, very appreciative of him acknowledging me as a Belizean and just you know my value and what I can bring to the country. And then the PUP at that time,
Right, Musa.
no, Said Musa, yeah, Prime Minister Musa uh, acknowledged the position, so it kind of like it kept going. So no, I've always told people, man, I'm all about country first, and you know, I tell folks too that that's the best thing that I have to offer as an individual is the country that I came from, and um, you know, I'll take that to my grave. You know,
And in
yeah.
your opinion, and I don't know if you would know, if you had to consider a Belize icon or if somebody who was influential in your life, I know your dad, you mentioned him multiple times, but if you had to kind of highlight a Belizean icon for young people so that they can look and aspire to be somebody like that, obviously yourself, I think, should be looked at because of not the full circle you talked about, but also the fact that you came and gave back, right? You're giving back to the country in meaningful ways. But who do you think young people should look to, or what advice would you give young people who, like you said, many times they have this frustration that they're not where they want to be, or they feel like the deck is stacked against them.
against them.
What type of
Um,
advice would you give to young people?
I'll say one thing. They don't feel like it's stacked. It is stacked against them.
Right, right.
It really is. The advice that I would give them is knowing that you're up against a system that is set up for you to fail. You have to allow yourself a chance to succeed. And when I say that, don't do the dumb stuff
Yeah.
that puts you behind the eight ball. I don't even know if they know what that term means anymore
Right.
because they just, but at a disadvantage. Um, and as
Be a
far as
leader, like your dad said, be a leader, not a
be a
follower.
leader, not a follower. I see some of these young guys, and there are some great leaders, young people that are great leaders. The problem is that they're leading you down destruction. I tell some of the same gang guys that come by my wife's center, I tell them, I say, hey, man, you are a leader, but you're not leading properly.
Yeah.
You're not leading properly because why? What good is it to have this power when you're just being destructive? You know, um, and then when you talk about people, again, I was so blessed and fortunate. I had my hero every morning waking me up, which was my pop. And I can't say there are a lot of great Belizeans doing like great stuff, but I can't say you know this person or that. Um, that's a great question. Maybe I could come back on the show later with
Would
an
love you
answer.
back
But
on the show without a
yeah,
doubt. I do have a
um,
question though. If somebody had to portray you in your life, right, and do a movie about your life, biography, who would you want to play your role?
yeah. Geez, I don't know, man. Me, I don't, I'm being silly. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I I don't know.
Have you ever
Um,
thought about writing a book or doing something about,
again, I've thought about writing a book. It's just that I'm not a writer. I know
but
I have some.
you could notate it and then get a writer.
Yeah, I have some great stories that I would like to share. Over because I have had just an incredible life and the experiences that I mean I've been places where you know I think people would be interested just to hear about and just to see not that um, I'm bragging or anything like that. It's just more about sharing
But I
and
don't
just
think you're bragging.
like
I think
great
you're
people.
extremely humble because you've been in spaces and places where the average person, even the average American, even maybe a
Yeah.
somewhat influential American cannot get into.
I'd like to share it because I always tell people I don't mind being the first Belizean. I just don't want to be the only.
Right.
And if some of these kids, I just know with kids, if once they give up hope, then that's it. And the one thing that I've always had, even before I started doing stuff, for whatever reason, I was a dreamer, and like I'm hopeful that like kids seeing me or being around. And that's why I try to bring all my guys down here just so that they can see that these are real people. They're not ghosts. Um, they get
Whenever
up in the
Michael
morning.
Jordan, I am very open to that invitation.
Well,
Just
look, I've been trying to get MJ down here for a while. I thought I had him. We brought people associated with him to sort of say, but it's a lot of moving parts with him, man.
I bet, I bet.
Man, it's and it's only gotten bigger.
I
But
know.
but with the grace of God, maybe at some point it will happen. But even if we don't get to the pinnacle of MJ, there's a whole lot of other influential
We
cats
have
that
his
have
body
come through.
double. We have
Yeah,
his.
well, Yeah,
So,
yeah,
quick
I
question, are you
guess.
working on any projects right now that you like to share?
I'm
Any
I'm
quote?
working I'm working on a couple projects. I'm trying to get a movie finished, edited, paid, everybody paid off. This has been like a thorn in my side because uh you do stuff, sometimes it doesn't work out as smoothly as it should, but the one thing that I will say is that I am a committed person, and once I start something, I finish it. So that's a project that we have. It's called The Haunting of San Ignacio.
Oh, nice.
So,
That's some
uh,
like Maya ruins are involved. Maya.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to finish that up, and then we're doing some music stuff. I I don't like talking about it before it happens,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I will share it with you. But yeah, I do have some stuff in the works.
Good, good.
And like I said, but by the grace of God, it will get done. Um,
It will get done.
yeah,
It will,
yeah, it will. I don't doubt. It's just
right.
the timing of it.
So
So
how long do you think the haunting of San Ignacio? That sounds kind of exciting. When can we anticipate the release
20,
of?
2026,
Good, next
yeah,
year. That's
yeah, next
coming
year.
up soon.
But the thing is, we shot it 2024.
Okay.
So, not that it would have been released now. A lot of stuff is timing on when people are buying new content and you want to work the right deal and all that kind of stuff. So, um, uh, I have some investors in the film that, they want to get paid off, so it has to come out soon. So
Right.
they've been very kind and waiting for me to get it done, because the thing is that they understand that this is beyond just one sector or industry in the country. Something
Right.
like this comes out and it's impactful, or it's positive and popular. The whole country benefits from it. So it is. I would say the people that I work with in Belize, the industries that I've worked with in Belize within the industry, film industry, have been very understanding. They might not get what's going on, but because of my relationship with the country, they've been very understanding and allowing me to um, get stuff done at a certain pace and time. So I don't know if any of them are online listening right now, but I truly appreciate all the work and commitment to the partnership of what we're doing. The actors that have been in that worked on the project, the vendors, everybody locally that worked on the project that um, might not have gone as smoothly as they wanted. Just know that it's still happening. We're still finishing up, and just you know continue to stay positive, because we will get it done, and it will be uh, glorious and beneficial to all of us here in Belize and beyond.
And this is a great time to say thank you so much. We're now out of time. I've really had fun learning about you because
Oh, it's my
I'm
pleasure.
very impressed with what you've accomplished and all the different things that you've done. I'm big on the diaspora. I love this show because I get to talk to Belizeans all over the world and just to see the rich experiences that Belizeans over the world have that and you're a that Belizean from the diaspora that came back home. You came back home, you're contributing home, you're highlighting home, you're advertising Belize to the world. You're an ambassador outside of just being a goodwill ambassador. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I'll let you have your last words.
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate the time on the show, and again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. The country of Belize is the best thing that I personally have to offer the world. And if it's anything or anybody associated with me, they got to come get on board and see what's happening down in Belize. So again, thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you. And I'd like to also thank XTV, Creme Radio Harlan, who is our engineer, and Noor Mohammed, who is the producer of this
Oh,
show.
okay. Yeah,
Thank you so
Nuri.
much for being here, and I truly enjoyed this time. So hopefully you'll come back on, and when you release that
Yeah.
haunting of, we would love
When
to
I have some more stuff to talk about, I will definitely come back on. And please, I just heard you say Nuri Muhammad. That's my man. So thumbs up to Nuri. Awesome.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I am a true bandit,